Hey guys, it's Kevin Gunspringer for The Flash, Season 1, Episode 19, Who is Harrison Wells? And this was another amazing episode. Obviously, I was looking forward to this episode, and this episode definitely did not let me down. And there were a lot of things I loved about this episode. I mean, a lot of it focused on, while, we did have a metahuman of the week, it mostly focused on, who is that question, who is Harrison Wells, finding out more about him. And they pretty much found out everything they needed to in this episode. And I really loved about this episode. Another thing I love is that this episode, we're starting to just randomly cross over with Arrow, and they're doing a really good job of doing that, and I just really am enjoying that. But let's get into this episode, because it really was a very good one, as usual, and let's get into it. And a lot happened, definitely. This was a huge episode, and I love that. So we start off, and of course, Barry, Joe, Caitlin, and Cisco. It takes place right after the last scene where Caitlin and Cisco have found out that Wells is Reverse Flash, and they're kind of theorizing how Wells could have become Reverse Flash, because of course they don't know. And this really is a great example of dramatic irony. Like, they know something that we don't, like we know something that they don't know, because we know everything there is to know about Harrison Wells. We do. They don't, though. So just seeing them go through this episode, it's really fascinating to see what their actual, reactions are going to be to this. I was interested in what was going to happen here and how they were going to react to all these things. So Barry recalls how Dr. McGee mentioned that Wells changed the night his wife died in a car accident outside of Starling City. And basically, so Joe and Cisco decide to head out there for answers, which is probably the best thing to do, obviously, because, if he was killed, if he was, supposedly changed in Starling City, they want to see if maybe there was something else that happened, because, again, they don't really know anything that happened. So they're doing whatever they can to try and investigate what's going on, and basically Caitlin storms out from the meeting, however, unable to cope with the accusations facing her mentor. She doesn't want to believe that Wells is this person. I like seeing Caitlin kind of be the one that is just like, no, there's no way he could be this person. And I mean, I can understand why Caitlin's saying this. I mean, she's a lot more level-headed than all of them. And she's also probably the smartest of all of them, personally. I mean, Barry's very smart, but Caitlin is probably the smartest. And I just, after all she's been through, she doesn't want to think that Wells did this to her, I mean, Wells has become like a second father to her, so she really is pissed at that. So elsewhere, a man presents the same diamonds that a woman stole from the vault to a pawn shop, and the man looks the diamonds up, discovers that they're stolen, and calls the police. And at Starlips, Caitlin still doesn't believe Barry's theory, and Barry then gets a call from Eddie, who's following the man trying to sell the diamonds, and the Flash races over to assist, but makes the startling discovery that the man is actually a shapeshifter, and can assume the appearance of any person he touches. And that was something I was definitely looking forward in this episode, because I knew that we were getting that the cast was going to play a different kind of, a different type of, role of their character. And I think that's really interesting that we saw that. And basically he can change his or her identity with each step. And basically, so this time the thief is eluding the Flash. So Barry goes back to Star Labs, where Wells confirms that shape-shifting is possible, and Wells and Caitlin warn Barry against touching the shifter. Otherwise, she will assume Flash's appearance and discover his true identity. So Wells goes through a string of recent crimes and targets a possible suspect, a man named Hannibal Bates, which I kind of find that hilarious that his name is Hannibal Bates, because Hannibal Lecter and Norman Bates, like, I don't know if they intentionally meant to do that, but that's honestly pretty awesome that his name was just Hannibal Bates. I mean, it's pretty simple. Your name's Hannibal, your name's Bates, you're gonna be a serial killer. You're not gonna be a normal person. You're gonna be a serial killer, that's who you're gonna be, and I thought that was cool that his name was Hannibal Bates. So Barry decides to take this info to Eddie, and over in Starling City, Cisco and Joe, this I love seeing. I mean, it was really cool to see Starling City and The Flash, especially after we saw Cisco on Arrow. I'm like, oh yeah, we're definitely going to see Arrow on The Flash. I knew this was going to happen. And it was really cool to see. I have to say, they really did a good job with showing in this episode. I love that when we saw the time slot that said Starling City, they played like a little bit of the theme. That was really cool. So Cisco and Joe meet with Lance, who gives them a police report for the Wells car accident, and Cisco and Joe ask to go to the crash site for more of the hands-on look, but before they go, Laurel walks in and asks to speak to Cisco in private, and I love this scene. I thought this was great. I kind of see some chemistry between Cisco and Laurel. I know it's never gonna happen, but I felt like Cisco, I just feel like I see some chemistry between the two. I know they're never going to get together. Like, we're never going to see a Cisco and Laurel relationship, but I see chemistry between them. So if they ever want to do something like that, that'd be really funny if they did. So I could kind of see those two getting together. So basically, she tells Cisco that she is, that she knows who the Flash and Arrow are, revealing her secret identity as a Black Canary. And the reason she's telling this is because she needs Cisco to help modify her Canary Sonic device, and Cisco agrees. Now, basically, what that will do is it'll just make her stronger and things like that, and I was just thinking how that was going to go. So back in Star Labs, Caitlin conducts some of her own research on Wells. Still unsure, she goes to Wells' apartment to ask him herself, but before Wells comes to the door, Barry, who's obviously following her, whisks her away. And I like that Barry's trying to stop her, because this could end up possibly very badly for Caitlin. She could put herself in danger. I mean, there's a lot of shit that could happen to her, and Caitlin defends Dr. Wells, and Barry says that if Caitlin tells Dr. Wells about their suspicions, his dad will never be released from prison, which is true, and Caitlin agrees to remain quiet at least until Joe and Cisco return. So basically, I thought it was interesting that, Caitlin was going to go blab to, Dr. Wells and tell Wells that she knew. And I can understand why. Honestly, out of all of them, she really is the closest to Wells, which she was there before all of them. As we know, Cisco got there after Caitlin. So I can understand why Caitlin's, the one that's really dealing with this very hard. And I really like seeing that. I would have never guessed that Caitlin would be dealing with this as hard as she was, but it's a pretty big revelation. I mean, it's not every day you're told that your mentor that you've been working with for several years is actually a killer. Like, it's not every day that you're told that. So she definitely is going through a very hard time there, and I really like seeing that, I have to say. I thought that was really well done. I definitely like seeing Caitlin, kind of just like not really knowing how to react to all this. I thought that was really interesting. So Barry and Eddie then meet to question I keep saying Norman Bates because his last name is Bates, so I want to call him Norman Bates, so he's not Bates. They question Bates' grandmother, and after shaking Eddie's hand, the old woman says she hasn't heard from Bates in ages before excusing her to make tea, but the woman is actually Hannibal, who changes into a young woman and flees, and that was awesome right there. I mean, they're dealing with an evil mastermind here. Just the fact he can morph into different people, I find awesome. I just find something about it really awesome, and basically, Barry and Eddie chase after him at human speed to avoid giving Barry's secret identity away, but Hannibal escapes, and more importantly, then shifts into the form of Eddie and shoots the cops aiding in the mission. And Eddie and Barry find the drowned officers and call for help, but basically, a camera in the police car caught the footage of Eddie shooting the cops, and Eddie's arrested, while Barry and Captain Singe protest his innocence, and Barry must find a way to prove that the shooter isn't Eddie, but the shape-shifting Bates, which I thought was really interesting that he's framing Eddie, of course, because, he has an advantage. He can frame whoever he wanted to, and I like that he's going after Eddie and not, Barry, because that's what you expect him to go after. So at the Wells crash site, Joe, Cisco, and Lance investigate using a high-tech Takoyan detector, and basically Cisco finds Takoyan traces yard from the road, and the group starts digging where they find a body buried. They confirm that this body is actually the real Harrison Wells, and when they go back to Starling City, Cisco gives Laurel an upgraded Canary Sonic Screamer, and Cisco dubs it the Canary Cry. So back at Barry's apartment, Barry is visited by Bates, and I thought that was really cool that they found the actual body of Harrison Wells, because we didn't know where he went. We didn't know what happened to his body. Obviously, because Eobard Thawne is, such a genius, he had to have done something clever with his body, and we see exactly what he did, that he put in that Taikoyan. I thought that was really interesting when we saw that. So, back at Barry's apartment, Barry's then visited by Bates, and he's assumed the appearance of Eddie again. Basically, he has to pretend that he's Eddie, and he's lying to Captain Singe, release Eddie, and Bates walks in, knocks Barry out before Barry suspects anything, and I have to say, the actor that played Eddie did a really good job here of playing evil, definitely. It was really cool to see the actors, because we know who they are, but it was really cool to see the actors that we usually see play a different type of role, because we never see, like, an evil Eddie, and I thought it was really cool to see this, and basically, Barry suspects anything, and when Barry unconscious, Bates touches him and assumes his form, basically, will he absorb Barry's super speed as well? So Caitlin arrives at Barry's unaware. Caitlin tells Barry how she could devise a serum that could hold his shape-shifting abilities, and she could take Bates back to Star Labs where she devises the serum, which will only remove his powers temporarily. So as Caitlin concocts the serum, Bates actually kisses Caitlin. Surprisingly, Caitlin returns it because she doesn't realize that it's actually Bates. She doesn't realize that at this point. So basically, I thought that was kind of interesting that we saw that. And I mean, I understand why she accepted the kiss, because she needed someone to help her. She's really going through a hard time, and I guess she needs someone to turn to. But she just kissed like the metahuman, which I thought was just crazy. So Iris then arrives, and she has a plan to prove, and I know a lot of people are hating on Iris's character. I know they are. But I actually didn't hate what they did with her in this episode. I didn't think it was annoying what they did with her. Yeah, I don't really like that they're just making her a love interest to make her a love interest. Like, I don't really like that part of it. But I like what they did with her character. I thought this was well done. She basically has a plan to prove Eddie's innocence, and she's using the footage from the cop car, and Eddie's left-handed, but the man shooting the cops uses his right hand, and Wells then comes from out from nowhere, tases Bates, knowing that he wasn't Barry. He says that the Barry standing before them used the wrong hand too, and Iris and Caitlin try transporting the unconscious Bates to the police department, and again, anything that Wells says now is just very creepy. I mean, because now we know why Wells would know Barry, because that's his target, and that's who he's going after. So, obviously, he'd know Barry's like mannerisms, things like that, and it's just really creepy overall. So on the way, Bates comes to, shifts into a little girl in the back of Iris's car and starts screaming that the two kidnapped her. And when two good Samaritans open the car door to help, Bates escapes, and Caitlin then goes to free the tied-up Barry from his apartment, and they go back to Star Labs, and Wells confirms that Bates can't borrow Barry's speed, just his appearance. They strategize that Barry must inject, basically, Bates with the serum. They locate Bates at the airport, and Flash pursues him. Barry tries fighting Bates, but Bates is a formidable fighter. Eventually, Barry is able to beat Bates and injects him with the serum. With Bates rendered unconscious, Flash takes him back to Star Labs' metahuman prison. So, basically, he's in the prison. So with Bates in prison, Eddie is proven innocent and freed, and when the charges dropped, Eddie connects with Iris and explains that why he's been so distant. He tells Iris that he's been working with the Flash, but not that Barry, and I like that he told her the truth, that he's working with the Flash, but he does not tell her that Barry and Flash are the same person, which I honestly thought he was going to tell her in that scene. When we saw him, like, he's going to probably tell her the truth, but he doesn't, because she just can't know. And I know some people are like, why can't Iris know? I think it's just that Iris is very different from all of them. Iris would react in a very different way. Iris would, with Eddie and all of them, they're not going to react in the way that Iris will. Iris is going to tell everyone. I mean, that's just how Iris is. So, I can see why they don't want Iris to know about Barry's identity. It's just a lot more dangerous. It's just that Iris, I don't think, would be as careful with his secret as Eddie and Caitlin and Cisco and all of them are. I think that not telling Iris is probably the best thing to do. Give Iris some time to maybe mature a little bit, because let's face it, Iris is pretty immature. She's not really a mature character. So, give her some time to mature. Maybe she'll be able to deal with that revelation, but for right now, she can't. So, I thought it was good that Eddie told her what was going on, because she needed to know, definitely. So, back at Barry's lab, the police department, Barry, Cisco, and Joe show Caitlin the body of the real Harrison Wells, and Barry says that the Wells they all know is a completely different person, and when Joe exits the building, he finds Wells waiting for him in the lobby. Wells acts as basically as cagey as usual and says he and Joe should get some drinks sometime. And when he said that, I'm like, he's gonna find out, because Joe's the only person. I mean, Joe obviously knows what's going on, and Joe, I don't know if Joe's going to tell him, but definitely Joe is going to further investigate into Wells. So, back at Star Labs, I love the way this episode ends. Cisco, Barry, and Caitlin run tests on what could have caused the particle accelerator's destruction, thinking it could give more clues about Wells, and while running various readings of building structure, Cisco picks up a high tachyon reading in one specific location. The group pinpoints the tachyon reading and discovers Harrison Wells' secret chamber. Walking into the room, they see Wells, or Eobard Thawne's reverse Flash costume, and the newspaper from the year 2024 declaring the Flash is MIA following a great crisis, and that's how the episode ends. So, they now know everything they pretty much need to know about Harrison Wells. They know that he's actually Eobard Thawne. They know that he's Reverse Flash. They know that he's from the future. So, how are they going to react to all this? I mean, they just found all this stuff out very, very quickly, and it really, it was very fast that they found all this stuff out. I will admit it was a little bit underwhelming to see that they, just found all this stuff out, but I still really love this episode. I love seeing Cisco and Laurel interact. I would definitely like seeing that. I thought that was really well done. But let's talk about how this is all going to go down, because now Joe just asked Wells out for drinks. How is Wells going to react to this? Does Wells know that they know? I kind of feel like Wells kind of has this, maybe it's like a premonition. I don't think he knows exactly what I don't think he knows exactly what they know, but I think he has some sort of feeling that, oh shit, they're on to me. I feel like definitely. I mean, they're just watching him a lot more carefully. You can tell that he definitely starting to get more aggressive. But I don't know. Do you guys think he sort of knows? I just kind of feel like Wells might already know. How is Joe going to handle this with asking Wells for drinks? How is he really going to handle this? How is this going to go? I don't really know. What are they going to do now they know that Wells is from the future? Are they going to possibly try to go back in time? Because we know that Barry can time travel. So is he going to go back to the future possibly? I mean, I don't know. We'll see what happens there. That's going to be interesting to see what ends up happening there. What do you think about Eddie not telling Iris the truth? Should he have told Iris the truth? As I said, I think Iris needs to be very tentative with her. She's a lot more dangerous. Like, she could react in a lot worse way than other people have. So, I can understand why he didn't tell Iris. I love seeing Laurel and Cisco interact. Do you want to see more interaction from them? Honestly, I thought they were really good together. I kind of saw some chemistry between them. I like Laurel and Cisco together. I hope they keep doing this with Arrow. I hope they keep crossing over to just like Arrow and the Flash. It's really cool the way they do that. It just gives us that extra layer that's like, oh my god, yeah, they're in the same universe, so they can do that, and I think it's really cool. And if they keep doing that, I'm going to be very happy. I know that some people are going to be like, oh, they just did it because they want to make the episode better, but it really worked really well. I thought it really worked, and I definitely really enjoyed it. And while we didn't have enough, I don't think we have enough of it in the episode, I thought it still was really good. How's Caitlyn taking all this? I don't know. We know that Caitlyn's already very, dealing with this in a very difficult way, so she needs to turn to someone. She needs to talk to someone about this, and the only person I can see her possibly, talking to, Cisco, I don't think he's really a person to talk to. Barry, I can understand if she really wants to talk to him, but I don't really know who Caitlyn can talk to. She's kind of the loner here, where she just doesn't really know if she believes it all, and I can understand why she doesn't believe it. She doesn't want to believe it. She doesn't want to think that Wells is this terrible person, and he really is, and it's kind of sad. Just, you feel bad for Caitlyn, you really do. I mean, she knows all this stuff that she knows way more than she should, and it's just really sad overall. But overall, guys, if my review, hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you guys saw this episode. Overall, I did not think this was as good as the past two episodes. I still really loved this episode. I thought this was another great episode. But I did feel this episode was a bit too convoluted. I felt like the metahuman, that we spent way too much time on that and not enough time on Harrison Wells, especially when the episode's called Who is Harrison Wells? Just a little bit disappointing, guys, but I still really like this episode. Not a bad episode by any means. And that's it for my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you guys saw this episode. I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be my review for tonight's episode of Finding Carter. So we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.